Hello everyone. In today's video, I will show you how to make this simple car rig. Without using any add-on or plugins in Blender, so let's get straight into it. First, click Shift+A and add an armature and go to Armature Properties. Then, check in Front and Viewport Display section. This will allow you to see the bones inside of your mesh. After that, scale the bone and rotate it 90 degrees in X-axis. Then select your wheel object and set the origin into center of mass. After that, click Shift+S, then choose Cursor to Selected. Then select the armature and go to Edit Mode. Click Shift+A to add a new bone from the cursor. Then change the pivot point to 3D cursor. This will allow you to change the scale or rotation from the 3D cursor. And then scale the bone and rotate it 90 degrees in Y-axis. After that, click Shift+D to duplicate it and rotate it 90 degrees in Z-axis. Select the other wheel object and set the origin into center of mass, just the same as before. Change the cursor location into the wheel object's origin, and then select the wheel bone from before. Click Shift+D to duplicate, and in Shift+S, choose Selection to Cursor. Now, as you can see, the bone location in here is not matching the other bone location. To fix this issue, just select the head of the bone and click Shift+S and choose Selection to Cursor. But now the issue is that the scale is smaller than before. To fix this, select the tail of the other wheel bone, press N to go to Properties, and copy the X location of the tail and paste it into the smaller tail wheel bone. And there you go. The scale and location are now the same. And now just do the same thing to the other wheel object. After you're done making the wheel bone, now duplicate the root bone 2 times and place it in front and on the back to make the steering bone and car body spring bone. Finally, the base rig is done. And now, after you've done that, apply the scale and rotation of your rig. And then, don't forget to rename all of your bones and rigs so you don't forget which one. After you're done naming all of your bones and rig, now select all of the bones except for the middle one, and select the middle one in the last. After that, press Ctrl+P and choose Keep Offset to make a parent. After you've done parenting all of the bones, it's time to add a constraints to the bones. First, go into Pose mode and select the Move button in the left button layout and change the orientation into Local. This will allow you to see the orientation of each bones. Now, select the steering bone and add a limit location constraints in Bone Constraints Properties. Now, as you can see, the left and right and the up and down location of this bone is in X and Z axis. So in Limit Location Constraints, check the X and Z axis in minimum and maximum. Add a value of -0.1 in minimum and a value of 0.1 in maximum, and change the owner into local space. Now, as you can see, the steering bone location in X and Z axis is limited into a value of 0.1, and that's what we want. After you're done making the constraints for the steering bone, it's time to add another constraints for the front wheel steering bone. But first, don't forget to check which axis is the up and down and the left and right position of the bone, because sometimes the axis is different in every bone. And as you can see, the up and down position of this bone is actually the X-axis, while the steering bone from before is actually the Z-axis. So don't forget to check it. Now add a constraint called X transformation. After that, set the target into your car rig and set the bone into the steering bone. And then set the target and the owner into local space. And in Under Map from Section, set the X minimum to -0.1 and maximum to 0.1. This value is the value of the limit location in steering bone. After that, under Map to Section, change from location to rotation, and then set the X source axis into X because that axis is the axis from the steering bone. Set the minimum into -10 and maximum into 10. And there you go. The front wheel steering bone is now following the steering bone X's location. And now just do the same thing to the other front wheel steering bone. But don't forget to check the bone's axis first. And now let's make the wheel bone to rotate following the front wheel steering bone. Add a bone constraint called copy rotation. Set the target into car rig and set the bone into front wheel steering bone. Change the axis into X so that it only rotates in X axis. Change the mix into before original and change the target and the owner into local space. And there you go. Now the wheel bone is rotating by following the front wheel steering bone rotation. Now just do the same thing to the other wheel bone. And now add a bone constraint to the car body spring bone to make the car bouncing. Add X transformation constraint to the car body spring bone. Set the target into car rig and set the bone into steering bone. And set the target and the owner into local space. And in under map from section, change the X and Z minimum into -0.1 and maximum into 0.1. This is the value of the limit location in steering bone. Now under map to section, set the X source axis into Z and Y source axis into X. Because we want this car body spring bone to rotate by following the X and Z axis from the steering bone. After that, in X source axis, add a value of 3 in minimum and -3 in maximum. And in Y source axis, add a value of 1 in minimum and -1 in maximum. And there you go. Now the car body spring bone is rotating by following the X and Z axis from the steering bone. Now after you're done making the constraints for the bones, it's time to add a driver to the wheel bone, so that the wheel bones is rotating while the root bone is moving. First, change the rotation mode into XYZ Euler. Right-click on the Y-axis and choose Add Driver. After that, set the object into car rig and set the bone into root bone, and set the type into Y location. And there you go. Now the wheel bone is auto-rotating while the root bone is moving in my axis. But as you can see, the wheel bone is rotating so slow. So to make it faster, go back into Driver tab and change the expression into var times 3. By the way, the var in this expression here is actually the name on this variable. So if the name on the variable is different, change it into that name. And there you go. Now the wheel bone is rotating faster than before. So the thing is, whatever you got a problem on the driver, it is probably because of the expression that you input into the driver. So you must be careful from whatever you put into the expression on the driver. And now just copy the driver and paste it into other wheel bone. And finally, the car rig is fully done, and it's functional to make a car animation. And the last thing that we need to do, it's just parent the car model into the car rig. First, go into object mode and then select all of the car models and select the car rig in the last. After that, press Ctrl+P and choose Armature Deform with Empty Groups. And then select one of the car model parts, go into Edit mode, and in Vertex Group section, select one of the bones that is connected to the car model parts that you selected and press Assign. After that, delete other bones that is not connected to the car model parts that you selected. And that's it. Now just do the same thing to the other car model parts. And by the way, the car model parts for the root bone and car body spring bone is all of the car model parts except for the wheel objects, which means all of the upper car model parts like the body, door, trunk, and others except for the wheel objects, assign it to the root bone and car body spring bone. And there you go. Now you have yourself a fully functional car rig. Now you can make a lot of car animation easily without trying to animate each object. By the way, if you guys couldn't follow up this tutorial, or maybe lazy to waste your time to make this car rig, you can get the project file of this tutorial on my Gumroad for just $2. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you find this tutorial useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.